Hello, everyone. This is Super Emaster here, and this is a live stream that I'll hopefully be able to continue throughout the rest of the season. But this is the 2014 Irwin Tools Night Race review. Anyway, and this will hopefully last less than an hour here. I'm going to put the link in the description shortly. Anyway, so this live stream we're going to be talking. I'm going to be talking about uh, the the race that happened last night at Bristol Motor Speedway, the Irwin Tools Night Race, which surprisingly does not have a number. But that's okay. Uh, anyway, so I'll add to the playlist, and I'll put the link here, and I'll put the link in the comment section now. And I'm not really, and I don't think I'm going to expect anyone. Okay, so now the link is in the description. Okay, so let's talk about the race here, and I have a few tabs pulled up. So Joe Logano wins. So wins Bristol, and that is kind of expected from Joe Logano. But however, if I'm remembering things correct, I don't know if Logano has ever won at Bristol. I'm going to check it like right now as I'm talking. But Logano won at Bristol in the 22 Pennzoil car, and I think Logano, I think he deserved it. He wasn't like a factor like the whole entire race, but he was definitely a factor. He played a very smart strategy. Uh, he came down the pit road here with like 60 laps to go, and he was able to pass everyone else, and he was able to hold off his hard charging teammate Rakazowski. So I believe, uh, I don't think Gilligan has won at Bristol. I'm still checking. Oh, never mind. He actually did win. He did actually win the Food City 250 back in 2012. So okay, so he has won a race here at Bristol, but it's a nationwide race. Anyway, so he won at Bristol. So and Brakazowski, he came hard charging. And he almost won. I think he definitely made the last like 5 laps. He made the last 5 laps exciting. Sorry for that. And I think good run for Brakazowski. He also played good strategy. But those two drivers right there, Joe Logano and Brakazowski, I think both of those cars have a legitimate chance to go very far in this new chase format, which I'm still not on board with. Anyway, and Matt Kenseth, who stayed out, he finished third. And he did a pretty and for how long it lasted, he did a pretty good job on holding off Logano. I want to say so. I'm impressed with Matt Kenseth, but it still wasn't enough. He had no tires, and Logano had fresh tires. Then in fourth place, Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson was not really a driver that was really talked about much. I mean, I think about somewhere around like halfway through the race, Jimmy Johnson made pit strategy, which got him up to the front because before that, he was mainly stuck outside the top 10 here. So and Johnson gets his first top 5 since his win at Michigan in June. So good for Jimmy Johnson. And I think Jimmy Johnson, I think if he can perform well at Atlanta and at Richmond, I think we could talk about Jimmy Johnson being in the championship contender. But Johnson, after going through a streak like that, which I must say, none of those tracks are going to be in the chase again, so Johnson can give a sigh of relief. But I think Johnson, I want to see Jimmy Johnson showcase himself in Atlanta, Richmond for doing well, and it's going to be a challenge because Jimmy Johnson in the last few years has not been really good at Atlanta or Richmond, so Johnson is really going to have his work cut out for him. But at least Jimmy Johnson redeemed for what I believe was an awful Bristol race last August. So I'll give him props to that. And okay, so then in fifth place came Kurt Busch, and Kurt Busch, I don't know, I wasn't paying too much attention to him, but I think Kurt Kurt Busch. I think he was definitely like up and down throughout the entire race. I wasn't impressed with that. Then in sixth place we got Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a driver that was not talked about. He wasn't talked that much about when we were at Bristol in March, but I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. a nice solid sixth place finish for him. I don't think he's gonna win at Atlanta or Richmond. So I think all Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can do is get good finishes and get good finishes and try to focus on next year, because I feel like that next year and the years beyond that, I feel like that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. he could definitely be a chase and then a championship contender in these next few years. Then in seventh place we got Carl Edwards. He won in March. It looked like that like at one point he because I believe at one restart he restarted like second or third or something like that. It looked like that he could have swept both Bristol races, but it just wasn't enough. I think Carl Edwards played strategy and stayed out on the last restart with like 60 laps to go. Eighth place, Jamie McMurray. I don't know. This is actually my biggest. I feel like at Jamie McMurray, he definitely broke my heart. I feel like at Bristol. I honestly feel like Bristol. This was a race where I felt like Jamie McMurray could have easily won Bristol. I think he should have won Bristol. I think and I feel like at Bristol, they kept on labeling it as like the wild card throughout the entire weekend. And I think Jamie McMurray, I think that he should have won this race. He was kind of I don't know, going into the race, I wasn't expecting McMurray to do it as well as he did. I believe McMurray led the most laps, I believe, but I'm not quite sure. I'm probably wrong about this, but you never know, I could be right. So I feel like Jamie McMurray, he definitely broke my heart. I think it was like pit strategy. I believe he was like the first one to come down pit road, but he wasn't the first one out of pit road, and I think that's where McMurray got into trouble, because there were a few drivers who passed him on pit road while he did not get off pit road as fast as others. Then we got Paul Menard, and I think Paul Menard, he is slightly improving. I see him, Paul Menard, and Paul Menard, he's been racing for over a decade in NASCAR, and I feel like Paul Menard, he doesn't get much camera time, so good top 10 run for Paul Menard, I will say. In 10th place is Greg Biffle, who earlier in the week announced that he got a new sponsor to replace 3M, so good top 10 for Greg Biffle. And then here we go, 11th place Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is also my he also kind of like broke my heart, because I felt like Kevin Harvick, he was my pick to win. He started on the pole. He led a lot of laps, and he had a conflict with Dan Hammond, which I'll talk about in a moment here. But I feel like Kevin Harvick, he should have done a lot more better. I think he got screwed when he came down the pit road. When he came down the pit road and did not come off the pit road like first, I believe. So that was a disappointment. So that was definitely a disappointment. Anyway, and we got. Anyway, in 12th place here, we got Kyle Larson. And Kyle Larson, to come from 40th to 12th, that was definitely impressive. I was expecting a little bit for Kyle Larson to finish a little bit better, but, he started 40th. So, and it was indeed somewhat of a redemption for what happened back in, not back in March, but it was indeed somewhat of a redemption for what happened to him in the Nationwide Series, which we'll not talk about the Nationwide Series, because that's, I don't know. I don't really like talking about nationwide races, but okay. In 13th place, Ryan Newman. He basically, I don't know. I think at one point he may have been in the top 10, but Ryan Newman, he started 11th, but he finished 13th. So he was basically, I don't think Ryan Newman was going to win this race. But I think Ryan Newman, either way, is in the chase. And anyway, and then AJ Allmendinger, he wasn't, for a while there, we did see him, around like 9th place and 8th place, so. And AJ Allmendinger, I think by being like a top 10 car, I think AJ Allmendinger is trying to showcase the world that he can be a driver that won't get eliminated in those first rounds, because I honestly believe that like AJ Allmendinger and Eric Almirola, I will say at this point that those are two drivers that are definitely never going to win the championship. They're not. They're probably going to be the first one eliminated. So I hope is that AJ Allmendinger in these next two races, along with Eric Almirola, they can showcase themselves as drivers that can get past the first elimination. Anyway, and then 15th, Jeff Burton, who filled in for Tony Stewart. Jeff Burton, I believe I didn't remember him seeing, I remember seeing him in the top 5 because of pit strategy, but I feel like he was just I feel like Jeff Vernon, he wasn't. I feel like unless Jeff Burns like restarted like first, I didn't think that Jeff Vernon. I don't think that he was going to win this race at all. So I'll say with that. And then 16th place, I think probably the most shocking position for someone who was really good early on, Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon. I don't know. I don't know if him. I don't know if his contact with Kurt Busch ruined the ruined ruined the rear of the car, because Jeff Gordon, he started second. He started second and almost won the pole, and I felt like he got a lot of buzz, he got a lot of hype heading into Bristol, and a lot of people were talking about him. A lot of people were probably expecting him to get his 4th win of the season, and somehow, like, okay, here's my thing with Jeff Gordon as I take a drink. Ever since I started watching NASCAR in 2007, I've noticed this. Jeff Gordon clearly does not do well in traffic. I feel like that you can never ever put Jeff Gordon in traffic, because I feel like that traffic is Jeff Gordon's like weak spot. You can never put him, I feel like that you can never ever put Jeff Gordon farther than like 5th place, because what it seems to be is that if you have been noticing his wins, his recent 2 wins, Indianapolis and Michigan. And then if you pay attention to Pocono and Watkins Glen, Jeff Gordon does really really well when he's out front. I feel like that. Unless if you put like Jeff Gordon in 1st or 2nd, he's gonna do really well. He's gonna be super fast. He's gonna be like fantastic. And then if you put him like farther than like 5th, he's gonna struggle. And compare and that's kind of where that's kind of the like one like thing that's not making me like root for Jeff Gordon, even though I'm not like a Jeff Gordon fan, and he's actually one of my least favorite drivers. But I feel like that if Jeff Gordon is going to win the championship, track position is key to him, because Jeff Gordon's weak spot is in traffic, and if Jeff Gordon performs at this level these next 2 races, Atlanta and Richmond, he's going to start getting a lot less buzz, a lot less hype, and people are going to start questioning if he can win this championship. Because I felt like that after Michigan, I was like, okay, this guy's definitely going to be in the final 4 spots in Homestead. And then after this race, I'm like, I don't know if Jeff Gordon will actually be in the top 4 anymore. So that's just my opinion. Anyway, as we go back down here, Clint Bowyer, started 14th, finished 17th. I don't think Clint Bowyer really had a shot to win, and then we got Michael McDowell. I believe at one point Michael McDowell was actually inside the top 10 because of pit strategy, and got him up there. And I'll give an applause to him for finishing inside the top 20. And same for Justin Allgaier. Finished 19th, started 19th, and Justin Allgaier. I think Justin Allgaier, he is definitely getting a lot more better. I don't think he'll win, but I think Justin Allgaier. I'll pay attention to him when it comes down to Talladega. He has won it. I did watch him win an ARCA race in Talladega back in 2008. So I'll say that. And then Martin Truex Jr. Oh well, I feel like at Martin Truex Jr. I feel like last year was a lot more better for him. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's him getting used to like a new team, because for whatever reason Martin Truex Jr. he is. I don't know what's going on. I feel like Martin Truex Jr.'s like highlight. It's like this entire season was starting 2nd at Daytona, and then 21st year Brian Vickers. I was kind of expecting Brian Vickers to do a little more better than him. I think to doing a little bit better than him. I think he has had success here in nationwide races. So I don't know. I kind of wish I was expecting Brian Vickers to do a little bit better, but we gotta remember Brian Vickers. He was involved. He was involved in a crash that involved Eric Almirola and Kyle Busch, but we'll get to crashes in a moment here. And then I'll keep it going through here. Landon Castle, nice finish, 22nd. David Reagan, nice 23rd place finish, and Reed Sorensen 24th. David Gilliland 25th. Kind of the usual spots. And then Casey Mears 26th. Danica Patrick 27th. Yeah, I feel like Danica Patrick. I feel like she was, for the most part, like a outside top 15 car all day. Then Austin Dillon, 28th. Josh Wise, 29th. Cole Witt, 30th. 31st, David Strimmy. 32nd, Alex Bowman. 33rd, J.J. Yeley. And then and here comes some drivers that we can talk about. 34 Marcus Ambrose. I was honestly expecting Marcus Ambrose to do a lot more better than what he did. And Marcus Ambrose got involved in a crash. Got involved in a crash. I believe he got damaged. I believe he may have gotten damaged from somewhere else earlier. But I was expecting Marcus Ambrose to do a lot more better, and he just didn't. So now Marcus Ambrose, good luck to you at Atlanta and Richmond. I don't think you're going to be in this chase. I feel like at NASCAR. I feel like NASCAR. You may just want to go back. You may want to, you may want to do what Juan Pablo Montoya did and go back and try open wheel racing, because it's working out really well for Juan Pablo Montoya. You know, he got a win at Pocono in the IndyCar series. So Marcus Ambrose, my suggestion, you may want to try open wheel. And then 35th, and this one, I was expecting Casey Kane to be a contender. I mean, he did finish second place a year ago, but I was expecting Casey Kane to do really well at Bristol, and he did. He had a really good run. He allowed a lot of laps in kind of like the middle section of the race because of pit strategy. But then all of a sudden, he had to come down. He came to pit road for an unscheduled pit stop, and that was like, for whatever reason, I felt like at the NASCAR that ESPN decided to not talk about that at all, because it was just kind of like random, And Casey Kane, he came back onto the racetrack, a few laps down, and then went back into the garage and pretty much sat out for the rest of the race. Okay, 36. Kyle Busch started fourth in this race. Now, I felt like this was a race where Kyle Busch really needed to show the world why he deserves to be in the chase. Bristol is usually one of his best racetracks. I mean, he's won a lot in the Cup Series, in the Truck Series, in the Nationwide Series. But Kyle Busch, what happened? What happened to him? He started up fourth. I believe he got to a high of third place after the first few laps. But I don't know what happened. I don't really know what happened to Kyle Busch at all. At some point in the race, he slipped back. And then he got involved in a pileup, which, once again, I'll get to pileups in a moment here. And then, and that's what kind of happened. And then Ryan Truex, I kind of feel like I like Ryan Truex. I feel like at Ryan Truex, he was brought up in the Cup Series way too early. I feel like at Ryan Truex, he should go back to Truck Series and then do Nationwide Series for 3 years, and then come up to the Cup Series. Whoa! My headphones decided to act weird for a second there, but that's okay. So yeah, sorry about that. Got a little bit off topic. Okay, so yeah, Ryan Truex. My suggestion is go back to the Truck Series or the ARCA Series. You do not belong in Cup Series. You got a concussion last week at Michigan in practice. You're just not ready for this thing yet. Go back to Truck Series or ARCA Series. Spent a few years in Truck, spent a few years in Nationwide, and then come back in Cup Series, because Ryan Truex, you were just not ready. You were just not ready at all. Then 38th, Michael Annett. 39th, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and we'll actually touch on Dale Jr. and Dan Hamlin. They finished 39th and 40th here. But then 41st, Eric Almirola, and then 42nd, Brett Moffitt, and then 43rd, Dave Blaney. Anyway, so let's get to other things. The race. It lasted a little less than 3 hours. The margin of victory was 0.39 seconds. It was 0.39 hundredths of a second there. When there were 9 cautions, and there were 16 lead changes among 9 different drivers, and then, and then, and there was, and let's see here. Okay, let's talk about the crashes here. Okay, so I don't know. So on my Irwin Tools Night Race live stream that I did last night, one of the things that I said was that I talked about how this race could be the chase sabotage the chase sabotage race, and I was definitely right on that because we had because we had Eric Almirola, Danny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, all have major problems. They all have like major problems. They all have like major problems, and that's okay. So one third of our like chasers had problems. So I was indeed right on that. Um, anyway, so I don't know. We didn't really. Oh well, I feel like the crashes they were okay. I mean, the crashes they were okay. I feel like nowadays it's what we come to expect. It's what we come to expect from Bristol. I feel like. Okay, so the first crash here. So the first crash here come to. So the first crash came from a chain reaction right here when and I'm gonna put in the crash on me here, but it was a 3 wide situation. Yeah, so it was a 3 wide situation. Of what happened was that this is how I see it. Brian Vickers right here, he was stuck in the middle of a 3 wide situation, and 3 wide is not the best. And okay, we saw a lot of 3 wide at Bristol, but you can't go 3 wide all the time, because Bristol is a short track, and short tracks are not mainly meant for 3 wide racing. Brian Vickers was caught in the middle of a 3 wide situation. So he slid up, got into Kyle Larson, and I felt like this is why Kyle Larson didn't do better because Kyle Larson hit the wall, and then Ryan Vickers he went into Eric Almirola, and then Kyle Busch got tagged from behind by Clint Bowyer here. So Kyle Busch went into the inside wall a little bit, then Eric Almirola went hard into the outside wall. So yeah, so Bristol is not always meant for 3 wide racing, but that's okay. Then the next crash was kind of the highlight of the whole entire race, pretty much. Denny Hamlin got to the lead on pit strategy, and then Kevin Harvick, who was second at the time, just slightly brushed up into him. I feel like Harvick mistimed. I guess he. My guess is that Harvick did not know that Hamlin was that close, so it was a confusion on his part, but I do not blame Harvick. So Harvick got into Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin was the leader. Harvick is in second place, and I believe Harvick had fresher tires than Hamlin, so Harvick was clearly faster than Hamlin. And it kind of reminds me of 2 years ago of when Kenseth and Stewart got first and second and made contact and both got into the wall, and the result was kind of the same. I mean, think about it. Then Hamlin went into the inside wall, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in third. It looked like Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to avoid it, but then Hamlin went right back up to the track and then hit Jr. Jr. went into the wall, and all the foam on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s left side was gone. And then NASCAR doesn't show it on its YouTube channel, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. was angry. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was angry. He was never interviewed on television, but apparently he was interviewed on the radio of what happened. But clearly Dale Earnhardt Jr. had nowhere to go, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans, I feel like, will always blame the one who caused the one that resulted Jr. to get this. But Jr. fans should never ever be blaming Kevin Harvick. So. Yeah, so that basically ruined Hamlin and Jr.'s days, and I feel like both Hamlin and Jr. because of pit strategy. I feel like if Hamlin and Jr. played strategy for the next several restarts, they may have actually had legitimate chances to win. So I can understand both of the drivers' frustrations. In the interview, Hamlin must have not seen the replay because Denny Hamlin blamed Harvick, and he did reference last year in August. And if anyone hasn't seen that crash, you can just go look it up. But Hamlin and Harvick, this isn't the first time they've tagged, and I actually kind of believe that this could be NASCAR's next rivalry, Hamlin versus Harvick. Does anyone agree that could be Hamlin versus Harvick, NASCAR's next rivalry? I guess you can post in the comments right now. But so Hamlin blames Harvick for the issues. I'm pretty sure if Hamlin saw the replay, he shouldn't be shouldn't be diving at it. But then what happened was that Hamlin got out of his car. Hamlin got out of his car and threw that Hans and threw his Hans device I can't remember how which is similar to what Tony Stewart did. Instead, Tony Stewart threw his helmet at Matt Kenseth, which has become a pretty which became one of the recent which became one of the biggest highlights of the whole entire 2012 NASCAR season. Tony Stewart throwing his helmet at Matt Kenseth. So I'll say that. So Hamlin was back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. He looked visually he looked dejected, and obviously did not want to have an interview on TV. He did come back on. I believe 100 laps later he came back on the racetrack, but then obviously NASCAR told him he was running too slow, and obviously called it a night. Anyway, so yes, I feel like the highlight of the entire race was Hamlin throwing his Hans device at Dale Earnhardt Jr. and maybe that clip will be used in future NASCAR commercials, similar to what Tony Stewart did by throwing his helmet at Matt Kenseth, because that's been used in a lot of commercials. Okay. So looking at everything as a whole here, I'll give the race. Let's see and I'm going to give the race here a grade. If I'm going to give the race here a grade, I'm going to give the race a 9 out of 10. And the reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 because I feel like that there were too many. There were too many green flag runs that lasted too long. I feel like the one disappointing thing I had with this race was the last run of the race was 60 laps long. I kind of feel like and I just thought of this earlier today, but I kind of feel like NASCAR. I kind of wish NASCAR. Sometimes I wish NASCAR could have this feature to just throw a caution for a caution for no reason, but just bunch up the field again, because I feel like that if Joe Logano was going to pass Matt Kenseth here, he was going to win. And I kind of feel like that. I kind of wish that there was a caution with 20 laps to go, similar to what happened in the Nationwide race, because it almost made the Nationwide finish more exciting than the Cup finish. And I don't think NASCAR and I don't think that the Sprint Cup Series wants that to happen. So that was kind of the one disappointment of the Irwin Tools Night race, is that the last green flag run lasted 60 laps. So that's what I'll say about that. Anyway, so next week we're at Atlanta Speedway here, and Atlanta Speedway, it's rough, which I don't know. I seem to really rough racetracks like Atlanta and Auto Club. I know it gives the racetrack character, but I feel like rough racetracks, they're painful. They're painful. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me to look at a racetrack and you see cars go up and down, up and down. And it does seem kind of weird coming from a fan that has watched NASCAR all these years. But I feel sometime in the next 5 years they're going to have to repave Atlanta Motor Speedway. They're going to have to, because Atlanta Motor Speedway is getting too bumpy, and the same thing can go for Auto Club in Kentucky. Sometime in the next 5 years, all three of those racetracks are going to have to be repaved. And I know some NASCAR fans get a little bit angry when NASCAR repaves a track, or NASCAR drivers get angry when tracks like Kansas get repaved. But here's my thing to all NASCAR fans who are anti-repave, and all drivers who are anti-repave. It's a road. Whether the road is 4 feet long or 4 miles long, every single at some point in every single road's lifetime, it's going to have to get repaved. So I feel like drivers and fans should just deal with the fact that racetracks have to get repaved. It's a road. At some point, all roads have to get repaved, and the only other thing roads can be done is to be demolished. And NASCAR will obviously not demolish the racetrack. So there's that to all the NASCAR fans. And they're in the work, and for a while there, I don't know. I don't think that many people saw it, but I was actually I was actually part of a like huge like long, a big like I was actually in like a huge conversation with like NASCAR because on the video that showed Joe Logano like winning the race, I was in a bit of like a conversation of where um, I replied to someone saying that like because because someone commented on the video that says Logano bows to the win at Bristol. Someone put in the comment section. Here's what he said. I'm not gonna say it's YouTube channel, but you can go find the video. He said, "This is probably the worst Bristol race I've seen in a long time. They really need to do something about the track configuration." And then I said, I replied to him saying, "I highly disagree. To me, it would make the track too similar to Martinsville because they would use the bottom. And does NASCAR want two short tracks where you use the same lanes to pass? It actually challenges the drivers more. And I do think that the high line, it gives something new and challenging, and because most short tracks the bottom is the way to go. It's like always the bottom, and at least we get like one short track out of several out of several racetracks that NASCAR uses to actually have a short track where the high line is the preferred lane. I think, and chances are NASCAR is probably never going to repay Bristol uh, until probably until like 10 years from now. I'll say that. So I think every single NASCAR fan who is complaining about wanting the old Bristol back, I think it's something that all NASCAR fans are going to have to accept or deal with it. That's what I'll say. Just deal with it, NASCAR fans. It's going to happen. This is what NASCAR does. You can complain all you want, but this is the change. This is the change NASCAR made. NASCAR is obviously not going to want to spend like millions of dollars to repave Bristol. It's just not going to happen. So I'll say that and move on. And there was some what I would say aggressive comments, but for the most part it was mostly a controlled conversation. So next week, as I mentioned, I'll backtrack here. Next week we're at Landwehr Speedway here. It's bumpy, it's wide. It was once the fastest. It was at one point it was the fastest non-super speedway, but that is obviously not there because it's an old surface. Let's see. My pick. Let's see. I feel like I don't know. Let's see. I don't know who's gonna be a contender, but I feel like at this point, as of today, my pick to win Bristol is Brad Keselowski. He was definitely a contender for the win last year, but Brad Keselowski had an engine failure. I feel like if that didn't happen, he probably would have won that Atlanta race. I could, and let's say this. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. I actually really do not like Kyle Busch in general, but I kind of wanted to pick Kyle Busch because he's had success in the Cup Nationwide Truck Series at Atlanta, but I don't know. The way Kyle Busch is performing is odd, because he's had, I believe like Bristol is his like fourth consecutive. I believe Bristol is his fourth consecutive finish outside the top 30 because he had like problems with the engine at Pocono, and then he got into problems at Michigan and Watkins Glen, and then Bristol was a race that I expected Kyle Busch to do a lot better at, and then Kyle Busch, he's just not performing well, as I said earlier. So I wish to pick Kyle Busch, and there probably will be people who pick Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch, the 18 team along with the rest of like Joe Gibbs, they really have to like pull it together here. And on the subject of Joe Gibbs, I'll just say that that for those who haven't heard, Carl Edwards next year he's gonna lead the only team he's been with he's gonna lead the only team he's been with for like a decade, the Joe Gibbs. So Joe Gibbs is gonna have a 4-car team: Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, and Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards is gonna drive the number 19 car, and I'm glad to see number 19 because the number 19 car kind of did. I believe the last time a 19 car was run was Elliott Sadler, but when Elliott Sadler raced that car for like 4 years, 07 to 10, he didn't have like any success. And then I feel like the last great driver driver to be in the 19 was Jeremy Mayfield, and he was named for a few years, but I think a lot of NASCAR fans know what happened to Jeremy Mayfield, and if you don't, you can just Google it. So that's all I'll say about that. So I'm glad to see Carl Edwards being the number 19. Being the number 19, I think that possibly if the pattern continues, we could see success from Carl Edwards like we did with Matt Kenseth. When he left Roush to go to Joe Gibbs, and I feel at this rate, Joe Gibbs is kind of not Joe Gibbs. I feel like at this point, Roush Fenway is kind of falling apart. I feel with them losing drivers like Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and now Carl Edwards, I feel Roush Fenway is kind of going to have a hard time rebuilding itself. And I feel Greg Biffle, I feel I honestly feel in a few years, Greg Biffle is going to leave Roush Fenway and probably not come back to NASCAR ever again. That is that could be harsh, but I think that's the way I see it. I think that Roush Fenway, they're going to have but what I will say is that hopefully in the next few years, Roush Fenway, they'll be able to find talent like Chris Buescher and and our drivers like those to possibly rebuild that team, because Roush Fenway has kind of not been having a lot of success, and Carl Edwards has kind of been their greatest chance for Roush Fenway to get a championship, which I don't know. And the last time Roush Fenway got a championship was 2004 when Kurt Busch raced it, because I feel I'll say it again. So when Kurt Busch left Roush, when Mark Martin left Roush, when Matt Kenseth left Roush, and now when Carl Edwards is leaving Roush, I feel Roush Fenway is losing its greatest drivers, and they're now going to other teams, which gives spotlight to Joe Gibbs now, and and Stuart Haas. So I'll say that and move on from that. But I feel Roush Fenway, you really got to pull your team together and make and give great equipment to your cars, because the Wood Brothers Racing is leaving your engine. Is leaving your engines to go to Penske engines, and Penske engines are doing really well this year with Logano and Brad Keselowski. And next year when Ryan Blaney runs a part-time schedule in the Cup Series, he's going to be given engines. He's going to be given engines and support from a championship-winning team, and that's not going to be good for you, Roush. So Roush, up your game up, for the rest of this season and the next several seasons that follow. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, so I think it's pretty much it. So I'll say it again. Atlanta Motor Speedway is really, I feel I'll say that again. Atlanta Motor Speedway, I don't know. I think Atlanta Motor Speedway needs to repave the racetrack, because ever since I started watching NASCAR in 2007. Atlanta Motor Speedway, I feel when Atlanta Motor Speedway was repaved in 1997, and a few years and several years after that, Atlanta Motor Speedway was in the NASCAR spotlight. But ever since Atlanta Motor Speedway has left the chase, and lost its spring race, it's kind of become a sad. It's kind of become a sad story of what's happened with Atlanta Motor Speedway. So I don't know, Atlanta Motor Speedway over the years has kind of produced boring races, but and I probably should not be saying that, but I feel compared to years 05 and 06, the races have been kind of boring. I'll say that. And I feel Atlanta Motor Speedway is capable. Atlanta Motor Speedway, if you're watching this right now, you have to repave the racetrack. It'll get fans excited. It will bring something new to NASCAR, and that's what you gotta do. Atlanta Motor Speedway, repave your racetrack. And that's what's up with that. My pick to win is Brad Keselowski. You can put in your picks down below in the comment section. And I think that's pretty much it for this live stream. So to everyone who was watching or was once watching this live stream, thank you for watching this live. Thank you for watching this race, and I'll see you next week on Monday to review the race at Atlanta Motor Speedway here. I'll see y'all later. And in just a moment here, I'm waiting for it to get to 40. Okay, so we'll see y'all later, and 1, 2, 3, and rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.